The Play Absolutely podcast with Dr. Sue Jennings and Dr. Andy Hickson. Hey, and welcome to the Play Absolutely podcast. Yeah, I'm not getting tired of that introduction yet. How say
No,
you,
not at all.
Sue? How you doing?
Okay, looking forward to playing again.
Playing? Well, I mean, that's the first question, really, is when do we get time to play? And the emphasis is on time. Do you think we have too much time to play, too little time to play, or is playtime wasted?
No, it's all about treating play as an after work luxury, especially as you're getting older. With very small children, okay, it's allowed, and people allow so much what they call now quality playtime. But it's sort of measured. It's not just left to develop in its own way. And children are really deprived of sufficient, open-ended, non-controlled playtime where they can be free to discover, find out, play with others or not, depending on where their whole interest lies. But having enough time to play without adult rules, I think, is getting more and more decreased.
Yes. Well, I mean, I don't know the actual stats, but I suppose, from our own experience, we did touch a little bit on this in the last podcast, where we talked about sort of finding time to play that wasn't unproductive, because that's one of the issues that a lot of people have with play, isn't it? That you're kind of, when you're playing, it's fun, but it's not very productive time. You're kind of killing time, You're not actually doing anything productive. You're not serving your family, your community, society, or whoever you're supposed to serve. You're just kind of indulging in a bit of play, and that's not seen as a great
I mean,
thing to
it's the
do.
same attitude towards children's rest time in schools. That was cancelled some years ago because it was considered unproductive. And the idea that our schools were falling behind other schools in other countries. Well, since when do we have to measure child development against any national measurement? I mean, it just seems very odd to me. So
It's not cancelled. Sorry, so I just it's not cancelled. Sleep time, rest time is not cancelled in all countries. I mean, as you know, we've not long moved back from Malaysia, and my youngest son there was at school, and they have rest time still. He found that quite difficult to adjust to, that in the middle of the day, the teacher would say, okay, get your mats out, and we'll all rest for 40 minutes. He's an active child. He didn't like sleeping, but he did learn to do it.
You see, I think also the difference there was certain schools, teachers had a vested interest in this rest time. And they would turn the lights down and they would talk very gently and they'd play special music. And they would go round and see whether each child was relaxed or did they need some help or did they need a wee chat and so on. And I think a lot depends on the investment in the activity from the teacher.
Right.
So that made a difference, certainly. But it's
No, carry on.
Well, I was thinking it's very comparable to this attitude towards play, that play is indulgent. It's all right, something very small children do, but you really need to get into real work. And this idea of real work, whereas in my mind, play is children's work.
Yeah.
However they're playing, whether it's messy play, discovering things, whether they're playing a musical instrument, whether they're building something, constructing a brick system, whatever. Whenever a child plays, they are learning. And we don't seem to understand that, although scientifically it's proven for years. because adults actually find out through play. They experiment with
For
something.
sure.
They'll take a hypothesis and turn it upside down and inside out, which is the same idea of playing. They're not using anything logical. They're testing something and saying, what would happen if? And that's how some of the greatest scientific experiments have been discovered, is by people playing with the idea.
That would be interesting to find out actually how many scientific discoveries have been born out of play. But I think I mean, is it related to recently, certainly a change in the system, in the schooling, the education system, certainly in this country, I'm sure it's true of many others, that we're surrounded by tests. We're looking at outputs, so the process that people go through is something that is put to one side. People go through different kinds of process, but what we want are the results. So we want the high exam results. We want to see what outputs this activity is producing and measuring them all the time. And of course, you can't really do that with play, can you?
I mean, so often in schools, this pressure to be finished first. And the teacher will say, put your hand up when you finished, and children scramble to be the first to put their hand up, rather than enjoying what it is they're learning.
Process.
Which is the
process. The
processing.
process is in so many things. I love the process. I mean, let's take something related to play, I suppose, going on holiday. Those of us that have the time and money to go on holiday is a great thing, but which I do, and you do as well, of course. But the process of going on holiday, the preparation, the packing, the booking the tickets, the thinking of what you're going to do while you're away, who you're going to meet up with, what you need to take. To some people, that is just boring sort of work. Oh, I've got to organise this, got to organise that. For me, that process is great fun. That's part of the holiday already. That's playing in a way already, going through getting this right, that right. And all the time you're sort of getting excited about what you're planning for. For me, that's part of the process. That's an enjoyable part, which a lot of people don't like. And maybe that's because I like playing as well. Or I don't know. Is it about just the process, the preparation? I mean, it's not directly linked to play, is it? But there are similarities in terms of the process.
I think there are a lot of similarities, and I hadn't actually thought about it till you've mentioned it.
Right.
But having a creative build-up to our holiday so we can maximise the holiday itself, I think is very important. Yeah. I think it becomes boring when you think, okay, 2 T-shirts, 1 jacket, 2 pairs of... and you treat it like just a logical, repetitive list.
Yeah.
But when you sort of say to yourself, what would happen if I only packed 1 T-shirt? Would that matter? Am I going somewhere very hot so I could wash it every day? And somehow the creative possibilities about that holiday start to come alive. So I think it's just a good idea at the end of the packing to logically then test it, that you have included what you need.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So play and playtime. I mean, there is actually a word, playtime. So allocated for play. Children at school, they have playtime, usually at lunchtime, maybe a break in the morning as well. But it is definitely seen separate, and a separate activity away from the school work that children are engaged with. At playtime, such as it is at the moment, what do you think children get out of it?
I think what fascinates me is the huge variety of play that goes on in wherever they designate as a play space. I mean, unfortunately, play spaces, playgrounds are getting smaller and smaller. But, there was one child, she was 7, And the teacher looked out of the window and saw her lying down on the playground.
Right.
And she went out quite sharply to the child and said, "You're not supposed to lie down on the ground. Come indoors if you have to lie down."
Okay.
And she said, "I'm the Sleeping Beauty," she said. "And the Sleeping Beauty doesn't lie down in a classroom." So she and her friends were actually enacting a story together. And it was rudely interrupted by this teacher saying she mustn't fall asleep on the playground. And it was children's imagination, children's logic. And at the end of the day, why shouldn't she lie down on the playground if she's the Sleeping Beauty?
Indeed.
But, other children will play with a ball, other children will skip, other children will play chase games, hide and seek. There's such a variety, and you don't need loads of equipment. People think a good playground has got so many things to climb on and crawl through and swing on and so on. I think swings are very important. I think swings are very soothing for children, particularly if they've had an upsetting episode, to be able to just swing backwards and forwards like being rocked.
Mm-hmm.
And
one of the things that you, in the broadest sense, talking about, apart from the swings, but maybe even the swings as well, is all of those games have a social element to them. They help children form connections or keep connections going, because when you're playing, most of the time, and I will talk about independent solo playing in a minute, or we can, but most of the time you're either building connections with other children, other people, or you're maintaining them in some way through your games, through your play. So all of the games that you've just mentioned, even a swing, most of the time you want somebody to push you on the swing. So they're all involving some kind of social bond, maintaining social relationships. And you talked earlier about playing, helping people, children specifically, learn. That's learning how to be social, how to interact best with your peers. And if something sort of doesn't quite work in a game, you then know outside of the game, maybe you've learned how to interact with somebody in a different way, and it's helped your social skills, right? I mean, that's one way. Unregulated play that you mentioned can help. You don't need advanced rules to learn that, do you?
yes, I think the social aspect of play can't be overestimated. I mean, and thinking about skipping, for example, I don't see as much skipping as I used to, I must confess. If you want to get a skipping rope, you have to look for it. Whereas we used to get skipping ropes for Christmas and things like that, or birthdays, celebrations. But I mean, skipping involves at least 3 people, one person at either end of the rope and one person actually skipping.
Yeah.
Well, that is quite a complicated coordination physically, let alone the collaboration with the other person. So you turn the rope at the same time and you turn it at the right rhythm so the person can run in and start to skip. And it's not too fast, but on the other hand, if it's too slow, they would trip over. People don't realize just how complex skipping with other people is. And of course, if you're skipping on your own with your skipping rope, again, it's a lot of coordination, a lot of accuracy, or you trip over the rope. So it's the same effect. If you're going to go and do gymnastic, why not go in the playground and skip for a while? Of course,
okay. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Play, all right. Play. We know how much you love play. Your life is based around play. I just want to try and shoot it down in saying that play is a waste of time when we could be doing something so much more productive. We could be making money. We could be learning about new things. We could be going ahead in science projects. We could be passing our exams, revising, learning all kinds of things. What a waste of time play is.
It's
Your
interesting if you,
response, Dr. Sue Jennings.
yes, if you take that narrow thing that time means we make money, then
True,
of
though, isn't it?
course,
All
don't
about the
play.
money, money.
But I mean, I think there's been some anthropological research on this where people's working life, because of technology, was made shorter.
Hmm.
And it was expected that they would find new ways to make money. But instead, they found new ways to play,
Leisure time. Hmm.
leisure time, doing things, having recreational rituals where they could sing and they could dance and so on.
Hmm.
So it's the sort of Western capitalist, not wanting to be political about this, but it's narrowing down the aims of what life's all about. And I suppose for me, getting really into the last quarter of my life,
How do you know that?
as I get older, having time to be playful and to pick up some of the playful things I used to do when I was younger is great fun. It's one of the joys of getting older.
Okay. But, okay, to take the other end of the spectrum, we could say that life is play. You know, the game of life, what we're living is all just play. You know, all these capitalists and governments and leaders, they're they're playing a game. You know, it's like the game of life. It's like a game of Monopoly, just on a much grander scale.
Hmm.
What people need to do is just start learning how to play the game of life a little bit better if they want to make a bit more money.
But then you have to ask who is controlling the game of life?
The aliens.
And and if we're having playful time ourselves or children are playing, we want them to be able to play uncontrolled.
Okay, can I just stop you there? Because I think that's one thing, isn't it? So let's look at play and non-play. So let's take, I don't know, I'm just thinking of an activity. All right, let's take history, a history lesson. You're in school, history lesson. Okay, learning facts, kings, queens, battles, wars, and so on and so on. Having a history lesson, you got the teacher at the front giving out facts and figures. They're learning about their history. Okay, that's a proper lesson. It's not play. So, how would turning that into playtime be a better use of time for the students and the teacher involved?
Well, we only have to look at the experiments that Vygotsky did in the classroom, that where children were just straightforwardly taught something, compared with when they used drama to illustrate what they were talking about. The outcome measurement was huge. I mean, he did the 3 classroom experiment where there was a picture hung on the wall in one classroom and not discussed at all. It was just there. And in the second classroom, it was on the same picture was on the wall, and the teacher and the class talked about the picture. And the third classroom, they not only talked about it, they then dramatized what was in the picture.
Ah,
And when he went back 3 months later, it was the third class that remembered most of the detail compared with the others. And not only that, they understood it at depth.
okay.
And just a very simple experiment with matched classrooms, that when we actually experience it for ourselves, and depending at what level we do it, I mean, if we were thinking about history and battles and so on, we might do that through some Shakespeare, for example. We might do something much simpler, but still based on Shakespearean stories when we were younger. So not only are you learning about attitudes towards fighting and conquering and overcoming, you're also collaborating and working together. So it's a social thing as well. And you're also learning about English literature as well. So you've got a triple effect there. If
Mm.
you actively use your text to learn rather than passively receiving it. And it's, I think, all to do with activity and passivity here.
Reminds me what you're saying there of something that employers are always calling out for is they don't just want people come out of school or university with exam results, degrees and so on. They want somebody with a bit of experience, not only life experience, but on the job experience. People often complain, how they've asked me for experience. I've just come out of school. I've just come out of college. How can I get the experience? And the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? Is in the play, is as part of people's education when they're at school, when they're at university, if they use role play as the example you've just given, they can get some informal practice experience on the job almost, because they might be doing it through role play, through improvisation, through enacting and so on, but that's experience. If you set up the situation very similar to real life, then you're getting actual experience in dealing with a situation, in dealing with a person, in dealing with, finding out the types of skills that you need to make the best out of that situation. And even if you have to use tools and so on, you can make believe those tools to help in the experience through the play. Isn't that it's very interesting that playtime, which we talked about, playing, having fun, but also a play, a performance, same word. And what we're talking about here is performing a play, whether you're watching a play or whether you're involved in a play as an actor, you're getting experience, aren't you? And you're feeling it. So it's kind of reinforces what you just said about, and what Vygotsky said as well, in that you're not just passively the receiver of information, a lot of which that information just goes out into the ether, finding ways to absorb it and then be able to remember it and use it in your real life. Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting you say that, because the late Steve Mitchell, the drama therapist that I used to do a lot of work with,
I know Steve.
He and I had this plan that before students started the course, all of them should be an assistant stage manager in a theatre, because that was a way of learning about time management, that no matter what, the play starts on time. You don't wait around for people to, it starts. And if you're not there in the audience, you stay outside. You're not allowed in. And we thought it was the best way of students actually learning to be accurate about time, because when you work as a therapist, you have to be very much on time. And it was a way of learning the type of self-discipline. People are on stage, therefore backstage, you're absolutely silent, whispering or footfalls or anything. And we thought, out of all the jobs we could think of, we thought a stage manager actually had to have the greatest discipline while managing this situation on stage.
Having been a stage manager myself and gone through stage management training, I do know the amount of work that stage managers, a good stage manager generally has to do. And I think people don't realise how much work. I mean, you see the actors on stage, you see a wonderful performance and you'll applaud for that. But all the work that's gone in via the stage manager, even putting aside the director, the stage manager is involved in all parts and often filling in for performers, often filling in for the director, the costume designer. I mean, some stage managers, particularly on small scale productions, they do everything.
Yes. And of course, the very creative stage manager, the most creative I've heard of, was when they were doing a production at the National Theatre, The Royal Hunt of the Sun.
Okay.
And it's all about the Incas and the Aztecs, and they needed what looked like solid gold on the set because of the Incas being phenomenally rich and so on.
Mm.
So the stage manager had an idea and sent the two assistant stage managers out collecting bottle tops from all the pubs. And they took buckets full of these bottle tops and started hammering them and turned them into gold ornaments.
Ah.
And when the curtain went up and you just saw this, what looked so lavish, nobody knew that actually they were made from bottle tops from local pubs. And I just thought that was such a brilliant example that not all the artistry is with the designer and with the director. The stage manager themselves get inspired about things.
Did any of the audience members rush on stage and try and steal all of the gold coins?
That would have been interesting. I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, I say that in jest, not directly related to play, but to a play that my one of my old companies took into a youth offending institution. So it wasn't a school, youth offending, and it was all about drug misuse. And as part of the play, we had some fake drugs wrapped up in silver foil, so they looked like they were going to be sold. And they're on stage, and we have a drug dealer, an actor playing a drug dealer, who has a sort of carrying a load of these, and there's a drug deal on stage that happens. And anyway, they're left at the end of the play. You can see all this pile of silver foil. At this particular venue, we had the young offenders, we had the staff of the institution. I'm not going to name the institution, North London, and we also had some members of the local police in the audience. At the end of the play, two boys rushed on stage, grabbed as much as they could of this stuff, which it was actually plasticine, and legged it. And the police just watched, and we were like, the actors on the stage. I was one of the actors, and they were like, what? And the police were like, oh, what can we do? And I said, you could have done something. I mean, luckily it was all fake stuff, but yeah, could have been scary.
Yes. Well, this also, I think, is when playfulness goes wrong, when the son of a friend of mine started selling the local teenagers, instead of real drugs, herbs wrapped up in foil.
Okay.
So his mother was growing a lot of thyme in the garden, so he wrapped up thyme leaves in foil, sold it to his mates, got caught by the police, and the police realized they couldn't prosecute him because it wasn't actually a drug. So they prosecuted him for falsely saying these were drugs. So he got done anyway for lying about what was in. I forget.
Yeah, I think the law actually is a bit. It might have changed, but my understanding, and certainly something we could check, is that if you're selling something which you say are drugs, even if you know they're not, the intent to supply, I still think you can be caught under the law if you're.
There's something
faking.
there, isn't there?
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, but it also reminds me again of a story that you told me. I don't fully remember the story, but it was a National Theatre production, I believe, or a big production at the National Theatre, one of the two, where they were using, I think they were enacting something from the Second World War, I believe, and there was a lot of the soldiers. I think the German soldiers had to wear these trench coats, these leather trench coats. And you tell the story of the director saying he wanted genuine leather trench coats, and they spent an enormous amount of money getting a lot of them in, apparently. I mean, if you remember the story, please carry on. You probably tell it better than me.
Yes, I do indeed, because Wardrobe tried to explain to this director that real leather doesn't look like real leather on stage.
With the lights. Yeah.
So, but the director wouldn't listen and insisted on real leather. And there were about 20 soldiers in leather trench coats. So it was a dress rehearsal.
And they're not cheap, those coats. Right?
Not at all. So at dress rehearsal, the director then realised rather late that it didn't look like real leather on stage. So the poor wardrobe people had to spend all night beating this leather to rough
Distressing
it.
it, they call it in the
Yes,
trade.
that's right. So that it did look like leather for the opening night the next day.
That was great fun. So they literally spent all night beating up leather coats.
Yes, beating up very expensive leather coats so that they did look like some semblance of leather. That was quite extraordinary.
What could they have done that would have been a better way around it?
Well, there are plenty of mock leathers, plenty of fabrics that look like leather, the same as there are lots of fur fabrics that look like fur.
Yeah.
I mean, fabrics have got very sophisticated now. You can simulate anything that you want, but make it lighter weight so it's easier, say, to move around the stage in and so on. It's easier to light. Remembering that for some energetic performances, you might need to renew the costume every week.
Yeah. Okay. I'm conscious of time. I want to revisit a sort of a half question I asked you earlier, just to see if you know. I don't know if you know this, so it doesn't matter if you don't. Just tell us. But so we've got the play, the performance, and we've got play, the having fun. How come they're the same name? What relationship? What makes them the same name? Is there a relationship, or is that just coincidence?
I think anything that has the word play, however different it might seem from other activities, I think the word play indicates the creative part of the brain rather than the repetitive, factual, learning by rote part of the brain. So that's whatever we refer to as play.
Okay.
Now, in games, we've structured play in a certain way, but we're still physically active. We still have to think ahead of where that ball might go. We're not just doing rote learning. So any sport has to involve a playful brain, even though it might be a more disciplined body. So
that's really interesting. Go on.
That is the connection, I think.
Okay, I see that connection, and I don't know if they're linked. My idea of the connection is that both the play, the performance, and play, the activities that we engage in for fun, are both separate from what people see as real life. And
oh yes,
for me, that seems to be one of the broad connections is that both activities are seen as they're not part of real life. It's a rehearsal. It's a showcase of, and ultimately it's a way for us to learn best how we can engage in real life. So it's almost like we were talking about rehearsals, play, whether it's the play that we watch, whether it's the play we engage in, is about rehearsing for life.
Mm-hmm. Yes, all of play.
All of play. So we've just got down to all of play in the Play Absolutely podcast. And well, any tips you want to give our comment?
Well, I'd like to close I would like to close on a quotation from an 8-year-old boy.
Okay.
When at school they had to write about grandmothers. And he wrote all sorts of things about what grandmas did that were different. But then he said at the end of it, and grandmas are the only people who never say, hurry up for goodness sake. And I just think that is lovely because going back to what we talked about earlier about time,
Mm.
that grandmas don't hurry you. They allow you to do and be what you are, which I think is rather nice.
Yes. And yeah, for me, I think if we get over this fixation of we don't have time to play,
Mm,
is just to remember is that when we do play, even just soft, gentle play, we are relaxing our minds. We are learning new things without even thinking about it. And at the end of play, I think most of us will certainly emotionally feel a lot calmer, maybe
definitely.
motivated to engage
Mm,
in
mm,
other activities, and
mm,
I really think it helps a lot in just our creativity and in our problem solving. In that, if you play with something, you get to see other sides of it that you might not have got if you're just directly, anything. I don't know. Let's take a job that I need to do this afternoon, the plumbing. I've tried to fix these pipes. I've tried to engage in work, and they're still leaking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and play around with it and see if I can play around and get it right. But yeah, playing opens up your creativity, opens up new
mm,
ideas to
mm,
approach what might be a
mm,
difficult situation or something you've had issues or problems in dealing with.
mm,
So playtime is, in my mind, productive time.
mm.
Yeah,
And
that's
play specialists, therapeutic play people, play therapists, all of that enable us to play and actually find our own solutions.
indeed. So on that note, I will say, don't forget to play.
Don't forget to play.
Okay. See you next time on the Play Absolutely podcast. If you've enjoyed this, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any others. We have, as well as the sessions with Sue and myself, also don't forget to look at AI Mike and the discussions we have on Play with AI Mike. And we'll be bringing in other guests here soon. So please subscribe, help the channel grow, and you're not going to miss the next one. Okay.
Take care now. Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao.